The story begins with a deafening silence. Judge Raymond Thorne, a man whose name was synonymous with the law in this state for 40 years, is dead. Hard. He was found slumped over his mahogany desk in a study filled with leather-bound books and the scent of expensive tobacco. To the world, he was an incorruptible titan of justice. To his wife, Elena, he was the center of her universe. The official cause, a massive heart attack. The funeral is a sea of black umbrellas and powerful men in tailored suits, all whispering about the legacy he left behind. But as Elena stands by the grave, she feels a cold shiver that has nothing to do with the rain. She notices men she doesn't recognize, men with hard eyes and earpieces, watching her more closely than they watch the casket. The transition from grieving widow to suspicious investigator happens in the quiet hours after the wake. Elena, a former librarian who spent her life organizing other people's stories, begins to organize her own. While clearing out Raymond's private desk, she finds a hidden compartment. Inside isn't a love letter or a will, but a burner phone and a single key to a safe deposit box at a bank Raymond never used. The burner phone buzzes in her hand, a text message from an unsaved number. "Did you find it? They are coming." Suddenly, the mahogany study feels less like a sanctuary and more like a crime scene. Elena's suspicions are confirmed when she is visited by Marcus, Raymond's young law clerk. He is disheveled and frantic, smelling of cheap coffee and fear. He tells her that in the weeks before his death, the judge was obsessed with a specific civil case, a land development project that promised to bring thousands of jobs to the state. But Marcus claims the jobs were a front for a massive environmental cover-up. Raymond had discovered that the land was a toxic graveyard, and his heart attack happened only hours before he was scheduled to meet with a federal prosecutor. Marcus begs Elena to burn whatever she finds, warning her that the people involved don't just win cases, they erase people. The first act reaches its peak when Elena decides to use the key. She goes to the bank, her heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. Inside the safe deposit box, she finds a leather-bound ledger. It's a roadmap of shadows, a meticulously kept record of bribes, secret meetings, and political favors, reaching all the way to the governor's mansion. As she walks out of the bank, clutching the ledger to her chest, she realizes she is being followed by a black SUV with tinted windows. The widow of the state's most respected judge has just become the most dangerous woman in the country. The hunt has officially begun. Elena Thorne has spent her life surrounded by books, but the ledger in her hands is a story she never wanted to read. It's a ledger of souls bought and sold. She realizes that she cannot go home. The black SUV trailing her from the bank makes it clear that her house is no longer a sanctuary, but a trap. Using the instincts of a librarian, she disappears into the urban landscape, swapping her luxury sedan for a series of taxis and checking into a nondescript motel under a maiden name. In the flickering neon light of the room, she opens the book and begins to cross-reference the names with her husband's old cases. The truth is more nauseating than she imagined. Her husband wasn't just a witness to the corruption. For a long time, he was its architect. The ledger reveals that the toxic waste scandal wasn't just a corporate oversight. It was a decades-long conspiracy to protect a multi-billion-dollar real estate empire. Every name Elena recognizes from their social circles, senators, developers, even their family doctor is listed as a recipient of consultation fees. Elena is hit by a wave of betrayal. The man she loved, the man the world worshipped, had blood on his hands. But the ledger also shows a change in the handwriting toward the end. The entries become frantic, filled with remorseful notes. Raymond had been trying to document the damage to a local town called Blackwater, where children were dying of rare cancers. He was trying to buy back his soul, and that is what got him killed. The tension skyrockets when the fixers, sent by the corporation, close in. These aren't just thugs. They are high-level security consultants with access to state surveillance. Elena's burner phone rings again. This time she answers. A voice, cold and clinical, tells her that they have Marcus, the law clerk. They offer a simple trade, the ledger for the boy's life. Elena, despite her fear, realizes that the ledger is her only shield. If she gives it up, she and Marcus are both dead. She uses her knowledge of the city's public library system, a place she knows better than anyone, to set up a meeting not to trade, but to leak. Act 2 culminates in a harrowing chase through the stacks of the central library. Elena moves through the aisles like a ghost, using her intimate knowledge of the building's layout to evade the men in suits. She manages to meet a contact, a disgraced investigative journalist with nothing left to lose. But just as she hands over a photocopy of the first 10 pages, an alarm goes off. The building is being locked down under the guise of a security threat. Elena realizes that her enemies don't just control the streets. They control the narrative. She is trapped inside with the hunters, realizing that to survive the night, she must stop being the librarian and start being the judge. Trapped within the locked-down library, Elena witnesses the true reach of the shadow government. The men hunting her aren't just private security. They move with the tactical precision of state-sanctioned assassins. In the labyrinth of the archives, she manages to outmaneuver her pursuers, escaping through a forgotten maintenance tunnel she knew from her days as a junior clerk. But the escape brings no relief. The journalist she met is found dead. An hour later, the death ruled a tragic accident. Elena is alone, a fugitive in her own city, realizing that every institution she once trusted, the police, the press, the courts, is compromised. She flees to the one place she hoped remains untainted, the small, dying town of Blackwater. Seeing the poisoned land and the hollowed-out eyes of the families there transforms her fear into a cold, hard rage. She meets a local doctor who has been collecting evidence for years, only to have his reports buried by her husband's former court. The doctor reveals the final piece of the puzzle. The land development isn't just for luxury condos. It's the site for a new federal prison complex, a project worth billions in government contracts. The corruption isn't just corporate. It's a systemic betrayal of the public trust. And the man poised to oversee it all is the judge's supposed protege. Now the leading candidate for the vacant Supreme Court seat. The tension reaches its zenith when Elena discovers a hidden video file on the burner phone. It's a recording made by Raymond in his final hours. In it, he doesn't just confess his crimes. He reveals that he wasn't acting alone. He names his partner, and the name shatters Elena's world. It's their own son, Julian, a high-ranking official in the governor's office. The betrayal is total. The man she raised, the legacy she cherished, was the very person who signed off on the toxins and, perhaps, the order to silence his own father. Elena is faced with a soul-crushing choice: save her son or save the truth. The third act culminates in a clandestine meeting at a rain-slicked cemetery, not at Raymond's grave, but at the grave of the first child who died in Blackwater. Julian appears, looking every bit the grieving, successful son. He doesn't offer a weapon, he offers a plea. He tells her that the system is too big to fight, and that his father's death was a tragic necessity to protect the greater good. He asks for the ledger, promising to take care of her for life. As the headlights of Julian's black car cut through the fog, Elena looks at her son and sees only a stranger. She realizes that the only way to honor her husband's final, repentant wish is to destroy the future of the man she gave life to. The cemetery is silent, save for the rhythm of the falling rain. Elena stands before her son, the ledger a heavy weight between them. Julian, the rising star of the political elite, offers her a way out. A comfortable exile, a lie that would keep their family name untarnished. But Elena sees the hollow reality behind his words. She realizes that her silence isn't just protection for her son. It's a death sentence for the people of Blackwater and every other town the system plans to consume. In a moment of absolute clarity, she understands that her husband didn't leave her the ledger to save himself. He left it so she could finish the job he was too weak to complete. Instead of handing over the book, Elena reveals her final move. She hasn't been running blindly. She's been a librarian of evidence. While Julian was tracking her phone, she was using the ancient, unmonitored fax machines of the public library system to send the ledger's pages to every major news outlet outside the state's jurisdiction. She didn't send them to journalists. She sent them to the legal departments of the corporation's biggest rivals. In the world of high-stakes corruption, the only thing more powerful than the law is the greed of a competitor. By the time Julian realized what she had done, the secret was already a global commodity. The confrontation ends not with a gunshot, but with the sound of a phone ringing in Julian's pocket. It's the governor. The project is dead. The Supreme Court seat is gone, and the indictments are already being drafted in Washington. Julian's face drains of color as he realizes that his mother, the woman he dismissed as a quiet librarian, has dismantled his entire world in a single night. Elena doesn't look away. She watches as the police, federal agents this time, not the local fixers, arrive to take her son into custody. She has saved the truth, but she has lost her family. The story concludes months later. Elena is back in Blackwater, not as a visitor, but as the benefactor of a new health clinic funded by the massive settlement she squeezed out of the corporations. She stands by the same rusted playground, watching children play in a land that is finally being cleaned. Her husband's name is no longer on courthouses or law schools. It has been scrubbed from the history of the powerful. But in the quiet archives of the town's small library, Elena knows the real story is preserved. The widow is no longer a mourner. She is the guardian of a hard-won justice. Ledger is closed, and for the first time in 40 years, Elena Thorne breathes the air of a woman who owes nothing to the shadows.